So I'm just getting back here from seeing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Skyscraper, also starring actress Neve Campbell and directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, who's also known for directing such movies as We're the Millers and Central Intelligence, which also stars Johnson. I'm going to divide this review here into 3 segments: the story, the acting, and the action and effects, scoring each along the way and then compiling all the scores at the end for my final score. I'm first going to start with the story. Skyscraper is basically a splash of Die Hard with a splash of the Towering Inferno, dumbed down by movie execs for today's moviegoers who for some reason think everything has to be big. And of course, if you're looking for big, who better to call on than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? With his bigger is better attitude, the buildings here are bigger, the actors bigger, the explosions are bigger, everything in Skyscraper is bigger. But the question isn't if it's bigger, it's if it's better. And I don't know why I feel the need to answer this question. It's a pretty simple one at that, but the answer is no. The story in Skyscraper is, well, a big turd. Nothing in this movie makes any sense. I heard more laughs coming from the audience than anything else. Johnson plays Will Sawyer, an ex-FBI agent who loses his leg when a bomb is detonated and a bus gone bad. Flash forward 10 years into the future and Sawyer is now a happy father of 2, married to the surgeon that saved his life on that day, and on the brinks of getting the job of a lifetime as a security consultant for the tallest skyscraper on Earth. Rising 240 stories above Hong Kong, the building claims to be the safest in the world and features a spherical observation deck atop, hence the name The Pearl. Between floors 200 and 230 is a giant wind turbine, located within the building, generating its own power and making it an energy-efficient skyscraper. Also adding to the green theme is a giant 30-story botanical garden. After his pitch to the mastermind behind the Pearl, Zhao Longji, Sawyer is hired and given a tablet that contains access to all the building's security features. Within the first few minutes, I was easily able to pinpoint out who the bad guy was here, and what the plot device was going to be a large factor in the ending of this movie. It was a literal no-brainer, just like the rest of this movie. After the rest of the bad guys show up and set the building ablaze, you'll begin to start to wonder, what exactly is their purpose? What are they trying to attain from doing all this? Do they have a motive? These are all questions I guess they felt better left unknown, because I still have no idea what these guys wanted. At times I thought maybe they were terrorists, but even terrorists have a motive of hate, and I can't count the number of ideas here that were just rip-offs of other movies like Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. When Ethan has to scale the outside of the skyscraper and uses the high-tech gloves to grip the glass, who would have thought no high-tech gloves were ever needed here? Just... Yep, folks, that's right. Just a little duct tape and you too can scale buildings just like Spider-Man. Even the ending is just another mirror image ripoff. Skyscraper just can't seem to escape that feeling of a low-budget 80s or 90s action movie. If I had to, I would liken Skyscraper mostly to that of Jean-Claude Van Damme's 1995 Sudden Death, in which a group of terrorists hold the vice president hostage during a hockey game. If I'm giving this movie's story a base comparison, that's a really good spot to start. I'll give Skyscraper's story an F. Now on to the second segment of my review, the acting. This is a little easier because Skyscraper is a one-man show. It stars The Rock, and that's about it, and it knows it. Dwayne Johnson compromises what I would say is about 95% of the screen time, with the other 5% being shared between Chen Han, Neve Campbell, and the 2 children, who are all fine, but I don't feel it's right to really make a judgment on them. Their contribution to this movie is so small. It seems that they really wanted to make sure that no one here was going to steal the show from or upstage Johnson. And if I'm being real, I didn't feel Johnson in this role. If anything, I got the same feeling that I did from Rampage, that Johnson was just here for a paycheck. He's nowhere near as charismatic as he was in Jumanji, and at times the delivery of the dialogue just seems sloppy and forced. I just really hope he hasn't fallen into that cruise control mode that so many actors do, with the idea that he can't do anything wrong, no matter what he does, so he doesn't need to try anymore. It'll be a success regardless. The villains, like I already said, had nothing to do, no purpose or motive, and there's only one that stands out in my memory, and that's only because he was given a few more lines than everyone else, or he too could have just as easily slipped into the pack of nothing-to-do goons. I'll give the acting here a D+. And now for the third and the final segment of my review of Skyscraper, the action and effects. The CGI used for the creation of the Pearl is superb. I have no complaints. It even has some people online asking the question, is this a real building? So let's put this to rest right here, right now. It's not real. Director Ross and Marshall Thurber did, however, want the building to be based on real possibilities, and that does show here. At 1,066 meters tall, the Pearl would have just barely eclipsed the Jeddah Tower currently being constructed in Saudi Arabia. Even though I personally feel a 30-story botanical garden, sounds like a bunch of movie magic BS. The movie also mostly shot at night, so everything here is very dark and hard to see. So it's kind of hard to distinguish between reality and CGI. But at times I did notice some very obvious green screen effects, like when Sawyer has to lay down a piece of wood so Sarah can cross a gap between the buildings and get their son. The green screen effect was pretty ridiculous, and I was a little disappointed by the amount of action. Sure, there was huge explosions, and The Rock jumps from a crane, scales buildings with duct tape, and goes hand to hand with some goons. But in the end, when you expect all the action to take place, we're given a very predictable set of circumstances with a very predictable outcome, with little to no action. I'll give Skyscraper's visual effects and action a B-. So what's my final verdict for Skyscraper? Beyond some decent CGI, Johnson gives an uninspired performance and a poorly written, poorly executed 90s throwback that lacks the amount of action I've come to expect from movies like this. I'll give Skyscraper a final combined score of a D+. Thanks everyone for coming out and checking out my review of Skyscraper. If you have anything to add, leave a comment below and let me know what your thoughts are. And as always, if you want to be part of the adventure, subscribe and join the quest.